Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Range is hot. Lock and load. It's time for the Gun Rack with your hosts, Joey and Drew.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the Gun Rack, Sonoran Desert Institute School of Firearms Technology's official podcast. I'm Josiah Upper. Folks call me Joey, and with me we have one
Drew Poplin,
and we are going to have a great time today doing another vaguely football-based, but still very much firearms podcast. Very excited about the what we have going on today.
Me too, man. Me too. And I think this is a good warm-up for next month's firearms draft.
The draft. The draft is baller, dude. That's, I think, my favorite thing we've ever done, and I think this has got some potential too. I think it does. Before we do, though, we need to go through some Drew's clues, because before we get to our free agents, we gotta find our retirement and staffing changes. So, what do we have today?
All right. So before I do Drew's clues, actually, I just want to say, how is it that your audio quality is so nice when you're using your laptop microphone?
Is it good?
It sounds amazing.
Wow.
Maybe it's just the quality of your voice.
Everybody's here and hot and bothered for a nasal baritone. That's how I do it. But no, this is the trick I have found. Is I got this laptop 6 years ago now at a pawn shop. Is a Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Carbon, which is like their fanciest of fancy laptops, or, it's fairly high end, but it was old when I got it. I don't even know how old this actually is. Mm-hmm. So all the hardware bits are awesome for the time period, and stuff like microphone quality has been good for a while. So yeah, pretty stoked about that. I didn't realize it was that good, but
yeah, and maybe it's how it's coming through here, but it sounds pretty good. I'm impressed.
Hey, I still need to reset up the rig on the desktop to fix that up.
For sure. Anyway, this week's Drew's Clues. So last week our answer was the HK MP5. Now this week I'm going with maybe a lesser known firearms manufacturer. This is a semi-automatic pistol, has a barrel length of 3.8 inches. Has a round capacity of 13+1 and weighs 24 ounces. And the final clue is that the manufacturer is a Beretta Group company. So it's under Beretta's, umbrella, but it's not Beretta, nor is it Benelli.
Spicy. I like it.
Yeah. And once again, if you think you know the answer, please send in your answers. Either comment on our YouTube audiogram when we post this up on YouTube, or send an email to marketing@sdi.edu with your answer. If you are the first one to get it correct, we will send you a t-shirt.
Yes. Now, before we get into our firearms topic of the day, we want to talk a little bit about Sonoran Desert Institute. SDI, as it is affectionately known, is an online school that helps students learn the skills and techniques they'll need to be successful in the firearms and unmanned technology industries. SDI is accredited by the Distance Education Accrediting Commission, DEAC, and currently we offer 2 programs in firearms technology, the Associate of Science in Firearms Technology and the Certificate in Firearms Technology Gunsmithing. If you want to learn more about Sonoran Desert Institute and all it can do to help you achieve your academic goals, go check out sdi.edu for more.
Awesome. So let's go get into the main topic. And this was actually Joey's idea. You sort of threw out the name. You kind of went to my school of podcast brainstorming of, hey, what sounds cool when you put it as a title? And then how can we make that as an episode?
Yeah, that is not normally how I do it. But I can see why Drew likes it so much. We'll probably dip into it more in the future. It's pretty sweet. We're going to be talking about firearms free agency. Basically, the idea here, football free agency comes up on Monday. And Drew and I are both football fanatics, as most of you guys probably know by now. Unfortunately, we both are Panthers fans, so there's only so excited we can be. But last year we did the first annual NFL or firearms draft, where we drafted different firearms for different scenarios with a given budget. And it was super fun, and it went really well. Folks seemed to like it. So, this is not going to be a hybrid football firearms project podcast for everything, but we thought we would add one more to that with firearms free agency. And so what we're going to do is we picked a couple dozen, I never actually counted, brands, which I'll scroll through super fast in a second. Had a randomizer pick 4 brands from there, and those are going to be our free agents. Those brands are free agents now. And one of the other companies out there is going to be looking to pick up one of these brands, one of these free agents, to add their products into their line. So pretend it's like a merger, basically. And we're going to figure out which would be the best fit with which brand and why. And that's going to be our firearms free agency.
And I think one thing that's interesting is, you and I haven't talked about what strategy that we went with for our picks.
Yes.
But there is like multiple, strategic ideas. One, you could, look at something that your company is lacking. And if one of these free agents fills a void, you pick them up to, and it be a benefit to your company in that respect. Or I'm not sure if you went this direction, Joey, or not, but you could also seek to pick out the free agent that is your direct competitor.
Yeah, absorb them that way.
Yep. So really interesting. I think it'll be cool to see what strategies both Joey and I choose for this.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read off the brands?
Yeah, read off the brands, and then we'll share which ones got randomized for free agents, because this did not go. It was a journey through the obscure for these.
Yeah, it could have been a little bit easier, honestly. So the brands that were put into the randomizer. So imagine this is our league. You have Barrett, Benelli, Beretta, Bursa, Browning, Canic, Colt, CZ, Daniel Defense, FN, Glock, HK, Henry, High Point, IWI, Kalishnikov USA, Keltec, Kimber, Mauser, Mossberg, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Savage, Sig Sauer, Springfield, Staccato, Steyr, Stoger, Taurus, Walter, and Winchester.
Ooh, you know what we don't have in here that we probably should add? Obviously, it's not a free agent, but what if we added Palmetto State Armory in there?
I was actually thinking about that later after we had already done the picks. I was like, I probably should put PSA in there. But
sorry,
yeah,
they,
we'll
feel like
have
they
them
would
be.
make a splash in free agency.
Yeah. So, Joey, who were our free agents?
Our free agents are weird. Out of that group, I was expecting some mainline stuff. I was hoping for a little bit of Daniel Defense or Keltec even, but instead, our 4 free agent brands are going to be Benelli, Savage Arms, High Point, and Beretta. Super odd brands for this. Some of them have a very specific niche, but that's what we got. So then between that, of those 4, Drew and I drafted 2 options apiece for this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what our best fits are going to be. I think in the order that we drafted them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But something awful must have happened at Beretta for both Beretta and Benelli to be free agents.
Yeah, to be going down.
Yeah, that only leaves like 1 or 2 other companies within that like conglomerate. So
yeah, that's what they get for reviving the cheetah.
We'll just say it was like the Saints, pushing that cap down. There's going to be some consequences. You're going to lose some good players like Beretta and Benelli.
Yep. So the first one I took, I'm curious, Drew, if this was also going to be your first pick. I went actually with High Point as my brand to hit the free agent market out of those four. I thought, it's not the most prestigious of those four names, but it has a lot of value because it's kind of created a niche market. Drew, would this have been your number one pick if you were in my spot?
I actually think it would have been. I like the value that High Point presents at this point. Obviously you could go Beretta or Benelli, but you got to think about your cap space in this situation.
You do, you do.
The cap space that technically isn't part of this premise.
Yes.
But no, I think there's something to be said for High Point. It's obviously less prestigious, but maybe that's a market that you want to tap if you're a company.
Yeah. So here's my thought process for this. And this is going to lean back to, I'm in school for master's in business administration. So I'm going to do the same thing that every other student does and just shoehorn what I'm thinking about and put it into my everyday life. There is something in business innovation called the blue ocean strategy. The idea is that there are red oceans and that there are blue oceans. And red oceans, when you have a product that is competing with other products in a very similar market. For example, Glock had something of a blue ocean when they did their striker-fired first and second generations of Glocks. Now, of course, you have Smith & Wesson Springfield. I mean, really, everyone has something to compete with the Glock 19, right? That went from a blue ocean to a red ocean where there is competition everywhere. And a blue ocean is when you stop trying to compete in that one space or at least dedicate some resources to competing in it, basically trying to get an entirely different body of customers. So like when SIG P365 was developed, it created its own miniature market of quote unquote high capacity subcompact firearms. And people have various degrees of sentiment on how that particular firearm is. But that's not really the point. The point is it created a whole new market of like stack and a half mainstream firearms that everyone could get amped about. And they're everywhere now, as I'm sure you guys know. High Point did that with the ultra cheap firearm. Cheap's not even the right word. The super high value firearms. Triggers are made out of Play-Doh mostly. But in my experience, High Point firearms are reliable and they are incredibly inexpensive. And for a lot of people, that's what you need. And so if you can get a firearm for less than $150, and I'm not sure what they cost anymore, but they absolutely did cost that at one point. That's a blue ocean, dude. There are not a lot of people competing with you. Mm-hmm. And if you have a reliable, safe one at that price, even if it's, hideous looking, that's a blue ocean. You do not have much competition in that space. And other places have made endeavors to get into something competitive. There's a fair amount of $200 price point firearms, which are great, right? There's some good entries on that level. High Point definitely has cornered the market on ridiculously cheap firearms that actually work. And I could see a lot of companies wanting to take that part of the market. So I have a couple of companies that I think would take a swing at something like that. And the reason I wanted to add Palmetto State Armory back in is because I think they would do that without even blinking. Mm-hmm. It's a very Palmetto State Armory move to take something like High Point and turn it into an art and a science all at once and ramp them up. High Point's extremely successful, but I could see PSA taking it to the next level. Taurus has a very good stake in that market with the G2 and, it's, what's the word? Descendants, there's the word. Being extremely high value firearms. They're not as cheap as High Point, though. Mm-hmm. And you could get into the pistol caliber carbine side of things, which actually I would make the argument, they're more expensive, but I would make the argument that's where even the better value is. And finally, I would put Kel-Tec in that space as well. Kel-Tec likes to operate with value firearms. But High Point, I think that's actually a pretty good match and intellectual property. I could see that being a good buy. And I think those are probably the big three. And then maybe add like a Canic as a flyer. Canic likes to innovate. They have a really solid understanding of value firearms, so much so that their stuff is actually going up or has gone up in price because people figured out what a good value it is. I could see High Point, them being able to tweak High Point to a certain extent to really streamline that bottom of the market. Just really make that sing. So that's my first pick and some fits for it. At the end of the day, I'm going to say that PSA picks it up because that just makes too much sense to me.
I agree. I think that's a really, really good fit. So I'm glad we added PSA in at the last moment.
Oh yeah. And if it wasn't them, in case anyone thinks we're cheating, I'd say Taurus would be the second place there.
Yeah. PSA can be like our expansion team.
There you go. The Seattle Sea Dragons of the firearms world.
So my first pick, I chose Savage Arms. And for me, trying to find a comp for any of these, I think it's really important to know what you got with the pick. So with Savage Arms, I just want to read this excerpt from their website, from their mouths, who they think they are. They say, but we're not a bunch of lab geeks either. We're shooters, hunters, competitors. We know what makes or breaks a firearms performance out there in the real world. And throughout the years, we've spent time listening to the best competitive shooters, sharing campfires with hunters and guides, and comparing notes with gun riders. Modern firearms stripped of pretense and gimmickry, leaving only muscular, no-nonsense engines of performance, just like the people who use them.
I was just about to say, are they writing about you or are they writing about their firearms?
I'm most certainly not stripped of pretense.
That's true. You like a lot of pop punk, so.
Yes. With Savage, they're known for their really, really solid bolt action rifles. And so my thought was I wanted to pair them up with a company that either didn't have a big focus in that or didn't have it at all. Initially, my thought was Canic, but that was before I read Savage Arms's About Me section. Not about me. It's not a Facebook page. And I feel like there's going to be a culture clash there. Canic, they make, their handguns, aesthetically wise, they're very divisive. I feel like they're kind of in your face.
I would agree with that.
They're kind of flashy too, with like some of the different color options they offer.
Yeah, SFX, you can get that. You can get kind of aesthetically fancy too. The TP9 is pretty. Yeah, it's fairly ornate. Although they do have some very standard looking stuff too.
Oh, for sure. But like, I feel like there would be a little bit of a culture clash there. I don't want to bring that into my locker room.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we'll put Canic to the side. My second thought was Walther, actually.
Interesting.
Walther is in that sort of like self-defense handgun market. They excel in that. That's something Savage Arms does not have. So I think that would be appealing to Savage Arms in more of a collaborative sense of, okay, how can both of us get stronger? And then finally, the other one was Mossberg. Mossberg, of course, known for the Mossberg 500. We talked a little bit about their latest pistol outing. To be honest, I don't know enough about Mossberg's rifles to really feel comfortable one way or the other to know about the quality of those. And so because of that, I found myself actually thinking Walther might pick him up. Again, Walther is so focused on self-defense. I don't think they've fully, they haven't really delved into that sportsman area. I think getting Savage Arms, that could make them a little bit more holistic. For me, if I'm Walther, I know what I do. I know I do it well. I want to experiment a little bit. I want to try stretching my wings. And compared to like, Benelli, Beretta, and Savage, again, I'm thinking you're talking a little bit more of a lower investment up front, but some nice potential.
Yeah. Okay. And for the record, Mossberg's rifles are very similar in terms of use to what Savage does. So I think there's an argument to be made that someone else would get more value out of them. And it'd be kind of like, I feel like if Mossberg bought Savage or picked them up in free agency, that it would be more of use of brand than it would necessarily fully going into that line of firearms. Anyway, I am going to go, my next one's Benelli. And so Benelli is a super interesting brand to me. They are probably, in terms of a specific product, they're probably most famous for their M4, but they have both rifles and shotguns. I've shot a Benelli exactly one time in my life. Actually, I think it was 2 times, but on the same day, so that doesn't count. And so the Benelli M4 tactical shotgun's like a $2,200 piece of equipment, maybe even more than that. And we are really looking at an opportunity here for a company to buy into the premium market. And I think there are some options out there that could really make this a profitable opportunity for them. There are a couple that are completely, in terms of this just isn't what they do. And I think that's the right thing here. I want a high-end company to take this, or a company that wants to start hitting that market and just nail it. My first one for that is actually more on the mid-level, but Ruger is a really good option. Ruger, as far as I'm aware, and I did a little bit of Googling to confirm that there wasn't something sneaking in the background, but Ruger does not make shotguns. They make solid pistols and rifles, both of a bolt action and semi-automatic nature. Same for their handguns. You got both pistols and revolvers. Pistols, of course, being semi-automatic. Yeah, really good option there for them to expand into another industry. Especially, I know Benelli's got, I think it's the Nova that operates at about a $500 price point. Then things go up from there. That's a really, really cool entry point, I think, for something like this. So Ruger, I think, is a really good option. There's one. Another one would be FN or HK. I want to put those both because they kind of both have really good rationale for it. They both operate at kind of that high level. They both, if they made any changes at all, which I don't know that they need to, would do a stupid good job at it. And I think those actually are they're almost boring picks because they're such logical fits. And then, I'll add 2 more actually. I think Kimber would make sense. I think Kimber would go broke trying to buy Benelli, but it appeals, I think, to the same market. I feel like people that spend top dollar for a name brand 1911 might be the people that spend $5,000 on a really nice shotgun. That feels like a similar person to me, but that's just it. Marketing instinct telling me that. And then my favorite, and I'm not even sure how good a fit it is, but I had to get him in here, is, of course, Israeli Weapon Industries, air horn noises. Got to do it. They do actually have a shotgun on the market. I'm assuming it's still being produced, but they are best known for the Galil Ace. They're up to the Gen 2 now, I believe. I don't think they've added another one yet. And then the Jericho Advanced, which is their current model for that. And the Masada and the Masada Slim, which we spoke about the Masada Slim a little bit a few months ago. All of those really great products. And the Masada Slim and Masada are actually kind of at that $500-ish price point, which is more of a mid-tier. But the Galil Ace is not a cheap rifle. I should know. And they have a shotgun that looks like it was dropped directly from outer space. But I could see them, they definitely have that high level appeal. I think Benelli's a little too hunty for them to be super interested in it. But the tactical component of it, like if they split up their IP and there was just like the M4 line and the Nova line and the things of that ilk, I think IWI would just be a just awesome choice for it. To end it, though, as much as I'd like to just throw it at IWI because that'd be really fun, I think the correct answer actually is FN. So I'm going to go with FN.
I like that. On a another note with Evan being Belgium and Benelli being Italian, relatively close proximity.
Yeah, it's like a cannoli with whatever it is people in Belgium eat.
Chocolate waffle.
That's yeah, yes. I'm sure that all our Belgian readers are stoked that we're comparing their Belgian hotel waffles to their cuisine. But
To those listeners, if it's any consolation, my favorite movie's in Bruges. So
yes,
yeah,
so we are men of culture.
yeah. I actually I still need to see what is it? Banshees of Inisherin.
What is that?
Oh, what is it's a movie with so the movie Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
I have never heard of that in my life.
I'm pretty sure it won an Academy Award for Best Actor in a Supporting Role.
Oh dang. All right.
Like
I see
2 years ago. Or no, wow, that was 2017.
Whoa, you're so old, dude. It's 2 years ago. It was actually 6. Like,
well,
wow, dude. Woof.
it
It's so embarrassing to be you right now.
that yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, I guess that's a good segue into me taking my second pick. And
Do it.
of course, with it being the last pick, I got Beretta. Now, Beretta, we know it's a classic company. It's been around for ages.
Yeah, dude.
Very very expensive product line. The Beretta 92 is iconic. They got some awesome shotguns. But, a couple of years ago, I want to say it was 2017, because for a good while, the Beretta 92 was the handgun of the U.S. military, correct?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And then I think it was SIG that got that next contract.
Yeah, I forget what the Army calls it, but the P320, but for the Army.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I feel like Beretta is a company that has seen a lot of success, certainly has a Hall of Fame career on its resume. But in recent years, I feel like they've kind of just been coasting by on their reputation.
Wow. Just give it to them, dude.
Yeah. I said it.
Yeah.
To me, Beretta, a good comp and a good NFL comp for them. They're the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, wow. Wow. All right.
And I think Beretta, I don't see a situation where they're going to go away. I think they're a big enough brand and they, have their niche, which is, fine and dandy. But I want to team them up with someone that's maybe a little hungry. I want to see Beretta go ring chasing again.
Okay.
To mix metaphors here. So some of the companies that I was thinking of, the first one that came to mind was Daniel Defense.
Interesting.
If Beretta was wanting to try to get back into, Daniel Defense, they got really good rifles. I could see them filling in that gap with Beretta, making them stronger. But, I went with a similar strategy for Savage Arms and Walther. I didn't want that exact line of thinking for my second pick. I considered HK also. I really considered Mauser for a while.
Spicy take.
Yeah. Mauser's got very, very good rifles. They haven't made pistols in a while. I could see Mauser being like, hey, we want to get Beretta on. We'll get some shotguns. We'll get some handguns going. We'll be back on track. Finally, I'm still not certain if this is the correct pick, but it's what my heart is telling me. I mentioned I want them to team up with a company that's hungry.
Yeah.
That is not satisfied with being in the position they're in. Maybe being someone's little brother. And when I was thinking about teams that feel maybe like they're the little brother to someone, or in this instance, gun manufacturers that maybe feel like they're someone's little brother, I thought of Steyr.
Interesting.
When you think Austrian firearms, what do you think of?
I think of I think of the Steyr M9A2.
See, I feel like most people, when they hear Austrian firearms, they think Glock.
Yeah, that's because I hate Glock, though.
Yeah, well, then maybe you'll be a fan of this pick.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
So you got Steyr, who kind of tends to be in Glock shadow when it comes to like Austria's main firearms manufacturer. Steyr, the Steyr AUG is a classic. That's a rifle that I feel like Beretta would love to have in their lineup. And this is interesting because although Beretta is the free agent, I feel like they're going to pull like a whole like Tom Brady situation. They go to a team and it's theirs now.
Yeah, this is mine.
So like I see Steyr being like, hey, let's work together. We'll use your name or we'll work together. I see them picking up a blue chip free agent as far as this class goes, picking up Beretta, working together. And I just wanted to point out the geography, just for practicality sake. Austria, Austria and Italy border each other.
Yeah.
That means logistically, you're not going to be running into a lot of trouble being able to ship things back and forth between Italy and Austria. I don't know. I think it's an intriguing matchup. Again, it's one of those things where it could be combustible, but
you gotta take big swings.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're trying to really make a statement, and say what you want about Steyr, the Steyr AUG was a statement.
Yeah,
Still is.
dude,
It's so striking.
It's spicy. Yeah.
It honestly, the design of it feels Italian in a strange way, like the curves. It's like an Italian sports car.
It is one of my favorite rifles ever to be made. An AUG. It still looks like it's from the future, and it's many decades old.
Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. I think that spirit of playfulness and that spirit of experimentation could do some good for Beretta. Oh, and my last point, why it's a good matchup is both the Steyr AUG and the Beretta 92 were in Die Hard. So
yeah, you got to do that.
Which is maybe the most compelling point. But yeah, so that was Firearms Free Agency this year.
It was indeed. I feel like we kind of perfectly hit the intersection of this podcast makes no sense and people are going to think we did a bad job because our choices are different than what they'd make, which is what we in the business call clickbait. So if you have big feelings about the horrible mistakes we made, give us your takes. Send them to the marketing@sti.edu email address. Stick them in the YouTube comments. We want to hear from you.
It wouldn't be the first time that we've been told that we're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. We were recently told that the hood did not like us from one commenter, which is, it's hurtful. It's hurtful.
At least they've heard of us, though.
Yeah.
Which
it's the Jack Sparrow philosophy of, well, you have heard of me. So
yeah.
That's my favorite comment I think I've ever gotten, and I've been doing content for like 7 years.
It probably,
absolutely loved that.
Well, it was so out of nowhere too. Like
okay, dude.
If I could find what the exact, hold on. So I found the comment actually.
Okay.
And so we post our audiogram clips as a way to let people know that, hey, we just posted a new episode.
Yeah.
Normally on the weekends. And this was the audiogram clip we posted on Instagram. It was for the episode that your friend Jonathan came on.
Yeah.
And L_terrible said,
wow.
LOL foo, stay home, LOL. There's a reason why the hood don't like you, LOL.
I think the important thing to take away from that is that he is having a good time.
Yeah. And I'm still not sure whether he was talking to you or me or Jonathan. Or
I like to think he's talking to the world.
Was he addressing the gun rack mafia directly?
To stay at home. We're not really in the habit of calling out every person that calls us out in the comments, but that was the funniest comment I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like laughing out loud as we're seeing it.
Wait, yeah, I mean, I wasn't even mad when I read it.
No, it's too weird to get mad about.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to criticize us, but you want to get your comment read on the podcast,
Yeah, be really funny.
yeah, and we'll probably read it. So that was Firearms Free Agency. Let's go on to Tales from the Range.
Tales from the range.
Now this comes to us once again from thehighroad.com. This is from Jim Watson. There was a guy here known to staff and customers at the FFL as Scoops. Apparently semi-literate. If it said rifle on the powder can, he figured it was good for any rifle. Those numbers did not mean anything to him. And by his logic, if they had wanted you to use less powder, they would have made the cases smaller.
Big brain, yes.
So he just scooped them full of whatever powder with rifle on the label was handy.
Oh no.
He has blown up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He had blown up 300 Win mags before the dealer put it all together, and thereafter sold him nothing but H870. So, yeah, Scoops.
Bro, not a measurement in any sort of firearms technological realm.
Just an absolute wild man. A wild man of the highest sort. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on this week's episode of The Gun Rack. Joey, you want to do the little tag? You do it better than I do.
We'll do the tag. All right, folks. Have fun out there, and we will see you at the range.
Sonoran Desert Institute is an online school accredited by the DEAC. It is headquartered at 1555 West University Drive in Tempe, Arizona. For more information about how you can craft your firearms future, visit sdi.edu.